by a very narrow margin, I can accept that. This is very, very small. Hi there, and thank you for submitting your report for assessment at IELTS Juice. The rubric says, the graph below gives information about the percentage of the population in 4 Asian countries living in cities from 1970 to 2020 with predictions for 2030 and 2040. So I can assume that by this division, IELTS wants us to believe 2020 is the present year. And when I look at this, it doesn't show here, but I can safely assume that 2020, right now it's 2024, but that doesn't make much of a difference. So yeah, somewhere around here is the current year. The percentage of total population, so 30 here means 30% of total. So for every 100 citizens of a city, for example, of a country, sorry, 30 is for Malaysia. So out of 100 Malaysians, 30 of them lived in cities in 1970. That's the definition of this chart. And we have 4 countries, the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. Okay, let's look at the response. The line graph, bravo, displays information about the fraction of the population that lives in urban centers in the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia from 1970 to 2020 with estimations for the years 2030 and 2040. Okay. All accurate, just it's all one sentence. And a one-sentence paragraph is not ideal, but it's task 1. It means you are not going to aim for a very high score for your paragraphing. You will get a decent score for that. And one more thing, the fraction of the population is not wrong, but a little awkward. Maybe the urban dwellers ratio to the entire population or to the nation's population was something more suited for this context. I'm just saying this is not wrong, but a bit weird. Overall, urbanization with British spelling increased in all countries from 1970 to 2020. Good. And is forecast to continue this trend. This trend is okay, the upward trend in 2030 and 2040. Okay. Fair. Yeah, I can see that. I can already see that they increased, but in all countries from 1970, what's this one? Which country is this? The Philippines. It went from 32% all the way up to 50, and then went down to 45, to 4 to 41. So we have a 9% increase in total. Okay. Yeah, you can say that it's a little bit of a risky move. We should be a bit more careful about this. Continue this trend. Okay. Malaysia and Indonesia will experience a dramatic rise. Malaysia, this one, Indonesia, this one. Both of them have this type of trend, meaning they still increase, but not so not as sharp as they used to. Let's see. Dramatic is a very dramatic word. While the Philippines and Thailand are predicted to display a more gradual incline. Thailand, this is gradual. Well, in comparison to Malaysia, this has a higher, steeper ramp. Whoa, I'm not sure about this gradual. Gradual is about time. So it is, I mean, the increase happens, but in a slower or maybe in a longer time frame. I'm not sure if gradual is the best word here. I have issues with these two words in reporting data. In 1970, only 30% of Malaysians lived in cities. So we're talking about Malaysia. Only 30%, correct. Initially, this figure increased gradually to hit 40%. Which year? In 1990. In 1990, Malaysia. Yes, it's not 40, clearly. This is more than 40. 44, 45. This is not accurate. Then soared to roughly 60% in the next 10 years. And then soared, yes, to 60%, yes, in the next 10 years, correct. The uptrend is predicted to continue, just surpassing the 80% mark in 2040. 2040, 80%, correct. The rest was accurate, just this one was not very accurate. Inhabitants of Indonesia living in urban centers. So we're pairing Indonesia and Malaysia. Why? Indonesia and Malaysia. Why are we pairing these two in this paragraph? Inhabitants of, I still don't know. I'm in my head, I don't know why these two are paired together. Inhabitants of Indonesia living in urban centers, British spelling, were the lowest at the beginning of the period at approximately 15%. At the beginning, Indonesia, 15%, correct. The percentage increased more steadily in the next 30 years, reaching roughly 25% in 2000. 25% in 2000. This is not 25%, it's more like 28, 29%, but since you said it's roughly 25, by a very narrow margin, I can accept that. This is, yeah, very, very small. The trend is estimated to be similar to that of Malaysia. Oh, that's the reason. These two have similar patterns. Okay, why didn't we say this sentence in the beginning? Just for better paragraphing. Peaking at around 60% by 2040. 60%. This thing. Yeah, the rectangular one. 60%, correct. All right. The Philippines and Thailand displayed a similar trend. Okay, and now I'm getting it. Okay, now these two, Thailand and Philippines, also displayed similar trend. Thailand and the Philippines. Where's Thailand? Thailand is this one, and the Philippines is this one. Let's continue. However, because the previous one was a clause, we have subjects and verbs. And we have also, I can see another verb, fluctuated. And because of that, we need semicolon. Semicolon connects two clauses, two independent clauses. However, the Philippines fluctuated more at the beginning of the period. Okay, so you believe they both have the same pattern, but this one fluctuated more, the Philippines. Okay, both will steadily rise towards the end. There are no numbers given. I've read almost 3 clauses, 3 sentences, but there are no numbers so far. While the Philippines started the period at the highest number of city dwellers at just above 30%. Okay. Philippines at just about 30%. It is predicted to finish the given period as the third highest at just over 50%. Okay, correct. Thailand, on the other hand, started the period as the third highest at just under a fifth, living in cities. Thailand. What do you mean by just under a third? Started the period as the third highest at just under a fifth, living in cities. Under a fifth means under 20%. Okay, yes. And is forecast to finish as the lowest by 2040 at just over 40%. Just over 40%. You call this just over 40%? It's well over 40%. Just over 40% is 41%, maximum 42%. We can say just above. Really, it's more like just under 50% or 45% roughly. The numbers are very risky there. When a reader reads these numbers, the reader must have a very strong heart. Otherwise, it's very prone to heart attack. So very risky, narrow dodges. All right, 238 words. Let's look at the band descriptors. So, okay. Yes, one inaccurate element and some very close to inaccurate data reporting. Plus, the overview was stated, but it's six. Six means you just say the overview, but it wasn't all encompassing. I didn't have the overview until somewhere in the middle. And yeah, the overview as a sentence at the beginning was fine. That is okay. That is stated, and that's because of that. I'm telling you, I can understand. But the overview also needed to give me something about the organization, the coherence, the cohesion, things that I was expecting to. I was expected to actually see in the report, and I didn't find those. Still, paragraphing had some little issues. They needed to, you know, we had one sentence paragraphs. We also had a paragraph without a topic sentence. But at task 1, you see it's not effective, but it prevents you from going further than this. So this is the maximum you can get for coherence and cohesion. Vocabulary was fine. The range was okay. There were some the inappropriate words are being effective in task achievement, not here. So the words, the spelling, the collocations were relatively okay, maybe not 100% natural. So we just say you skillfully used those words. And the grammar range was sufficient, safe, and enough for the entire report. This report needed a little bit more accuracy and maybe a little bit more attention towards the modifiers, like gradually, steadily, sharply, or suddenly, dramatically. They needed to be revisited a little bit to give us a more appropriate report. Well, thank you for submitting this. And if you wish to see the improved version of your report to see the maximum potential, you may scroll down, and it's down below this post. I hope I'll be seeing more work from you with higher score than 6.5. Take care.